Hi, I'm posting this video in confirmation to the dreams where people are seeing missiles and sudden destruction on the United States. I have three dreams to tell you about. The first one happened in Mississippi. Generally, when I'm in a place, I have a dream about what will be the end result of that place and how it will look in the when the smoke clears. So I was in Mississippi and I had a night dream where I was looking off onto the coast of Mississippi. I was up above the Gulf Coast a little bit, looking down towards Gulfport, Biloxi, Ocean Springs way, and I was looking at a night sky when all of a sudden there was an earthquake. The earth just shook and I fell to the ground, and the over the tops of the pine trees I saw pillars of orange fire, just wide pillars of orange fire just coming up from the earth and shooting up into the sky. Now, the sky was filled with clouds, so that when the pillar of fire got to the top of the clouds, it kind of rolled off up there and kind of spread out and mushroomed out kind of a little bit. And it lighted up the whole area and made the whole area the nighttime look orange. There was an orange overcast light all about the land. And as I looked over to my left towards uh, Biloxi and then Ocean Springs, and that way about every 50 miles or so there was another pillar of fire going up, and this went all the way to through the end of Florida. I could see. And then I looked over to the right, and the same thing for about every 50 miles all the way through Louisiana and all down through Texas. There were just pillars and pillars of fire. At the time, I didn't know this, but I have found out recently that there is a fault line, an earthquake that runs, or a fault line that runs nearly from Florida to California, all along the coast there. And I believe this is what I saw was the eruption of this fault line. It would be like where I-10 runs from Florida almost all the way to California, is about exactly where the fault line was. The next dream I had, I was in Puerto Rico, and well, the first dream took place in about 1999. The second dream I'm going to tell you about is the missiles I saw in Puerto Rico, and this took place in about 2006. I was on the island of Puerto Rico, had been living there a couple of years, and out of the water came these two missiles. They were side by side like this. They shot out of the water together, way up into the sky. And then as I was watching them go up, 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 it looked like they were coming over the top of me because they were so high. And something weird happened. They went off in the sky, and I was wondering, is this a misfire? What is this? And so at the time, I was driving a car, and as I looked up, slowed the car down, and I'm looking up, and I have a steering wheel in my hands, I'm realizing there's this huge net, like a net, that was coming out of from these two rockets, and it was raining down on the place where I was. And so there was a boy ahead of me that I saw who was by the road playing, and I said, well, let me get him and get him under this pavilion before this stuff falls on us. Well, when I got out of the car, the stuff was falling out of the atmosphere, and it was acid, and it was burning our skin, and it began to burn my skin real bad and his skin too, and he was yelling and screaming, and I was hurting pretty bad too. And I rushed him over to a water basin that was there underneath the carport and began to wash this stuff off of his skin, and trying to get his shirt off and trying to get some of my clothes off too, because it was just burning and steaming and um, burning us, just burning us up. And that was the end of that particular dream. And the third dream I had was in Texas. This was a year later in 2007, where I found myself in a silver car on a beautifully paved road with luscious grass all around us. The road had just been paved, and it was a beautiful windy road, and it was running through the countryside, all except on every side of the road ahead of me, to the right, left, and behind me was nothing but rubble. And it looked like a garbage dump, and it had just been leveled. Everything was flat. There were no hills, there were no mountains, there was nothing in the area that was any taller than 2 feet high. And all I could see was just, and there was not a piece of anything that was probably over about a 2 foot 2 feet square piece of anything left. Everything was small that had just been blown to bits. And the only thing that I saw that was over 2 feet tall was one piece of rebar standing out of a jagged piece of cement. And on the top of it was flying a white plastic grocery bag out in the wind, as if to say, we've surrendered. And this area here, nothing, there was no sound whatsoever. Everything was quiet except for the wind blowing, and you can hear the wind blowing through, and there was not a bird in the sky. There wasn't a dog anywhere to be found. There wasn't a cricket. There wasn't any type of life whatsoever. There were no streaks in the sky. There were no clouds in the sky. I didn't even see a sun and a moon. All I saw was a beautiful blue sky and rubble left behind. That's all I saw. And that concludes my dream.